Good evening. This is Break Me Off Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Denise. And in my Varnell Hill voice, did you miss me? I've been away just a little bit, but I had to kind of change up some things. So now we're going to start going live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So make sure that you check us out on theconnected.net. You can always pull us up on Facebook at The Connected Radio. But I want you all to tune in. We're switching some things up, as you all know. Listen, I thrive and live on what's new, what's now, what's happening. But most importantly, I want you all to be aware of some of the things that happen in our community that we may not be aware of, and to talk about topics that a lot of times may be taboo to you all. And that's what tonight's topic is. I want to have this discussion around something that may be a little uncomfortable to some of you all, but it's a topic that I'm hearing more of, especially in the work that I do in the homeless and houses community, but also with having conversations with individuals in the community. So I want to talk about this thing a little bit more, because we got to stop brushing things under the rug or getting in spaces where we say it's uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be. If we talk about it, educate each other about it, know about it, then it will be something that we catch a lot quicker instead of catching it after it's been done. I want to talk to y'all today about predators. And I really need for you all to tune in. Like I said, this one is a little bit different, but I'm just hearing more about it. And it's funny because me and my daughter the other night, we were sitting there watching Good Times. And anybody knows me knows I love Good Times. Like, I could sit there and watch Good Times every single episode like I've never seen it before, and laugh or cry or what have you, become emotional. I love Good Times, from James to Alona. That's just it for me. It's one of those shows that I think a lot of us grew up on. It's in music videos. Listen, you all, I think they even made a new cartoon about Good Times, even though folks say it wasn't that good. I haven't watched it yet. Maybe I need to tune in, but I'm like, once James died, I don't know if it was too much more that I wanted to see. And they made it out of the ghetto and out of Cabrini Green. So what more could have been done? But I do know there's a cartoon version of Good Times. One of my favorite movies is ATL. The family comes together off of an episode of Good Times. And I told people growing up, my daddy was James Evans to me. He acted like James Evans. He definitely whooped our tail like James Evans. And he did a lot of cussing too. James Evans tried to play it off because he was on TV, but I'm pretty sure he was a cussing daddy. But at the end of the day, I want to talk about predators. In one of the episodes that we were referring to dealt with Thelma. Thelma actually had quite a few run-ins with what I consider predators, from Walona's ex-husband to even Louis Gossett Jr. played a character. She had another character where he was in college and she wasn't but 15, 16 years old. And my daughter said, was it like that back in the day? And I was like, what you mean? She said, was it like that where the older men didn't have a problem approaching these younger women or young girls, and then the family being okay with the young girl dating the older men? And I told her, I said, let me explain something to you real quick. I said, growing up, it was a little bit different. We did see the younger ladies, at least in my generation and time, where they did date the older men. Was it right? No, especially if that child was under the age of 18. So when or who said that that was okay? Who said it was okay to turn an eye? So I remember having a conversation with the older lady that I went to church with, and she was like, well, you got to understand, those were the times that we grew up in. But when do we get past that time? Because in my day and age and growing up, I can remember that you could be 18 and drive a school bus. You could drive for elementary school, you could drive for middle school, or you could drive for high school. And as an 18-year-old, you you exploring yourself, especially when it comes to your sexuality. And here you are amongst all of these young people, especially young ladies. And yes, sometimes those young males would prey on those that were under 18. But was that okay? It never, to me, should be okay for a young lady to be preyed upon, especially by our older gentlemen. I'm not talking, so let me clear the air too, also, y'all. I'm gonna have to deal with opposite sex tonight, even though I was molested by somebody of the same sex. I want to more so focus on opposite sex this evening for that purpose. But yeah, I was preyed upon about somebody from my female from age 5 to age 7, and I'm gonna do another show about that because I really want to dive into that a little bit more, and pray that what I went through and what I experienced will help you recognize that in your own child. Because now that I'm older and I've been able to process it a lot differently, there are some signs. But I can remember growing up, you all 14, 15 years old, and we used to give shout outs on the radio, or you could call into the radio station. And I can remember an older gentleman, at the time, he was 21, but I had met him at a store that I had walked to. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I had walked to Spalding's and Perkins, met this gentleman. Like I said, I'm 14 or 15. I met a gentleman, and this gentleman was sending shout outs to me on the radio. And I thought that was just so sweet, so cool. We didn't have social media back then. We could sneak and talk on the phone. And when I say sneak, baby, I meant sneak, baby. I was trying to hide that phone, turn that ringer off. I was like, Lord, I don't want. And look, I don't know, for those of y'all that are my age, we had that little see-through phone that would light up. And so I was like, Lord, please let him call and I could see the phone light up and my mama not know, because that's why I wanted that phone. And that's probably why most of us wanted that phone, now that I think about it, because it lit up when it rang. And so I would turn the ringer off so that my mama couldn't answer the phone. And I can remember this guy talking to me and we having these conversations. What you wear to school today? You were a grown man. Why is you worried about what I'm wearing to school today? How was your day? Who did you talk to? Now this gentleman is trying to control who I talked to, where I was, what I was wearing, who I sat beside on the bus. And so that is when it becomes inappropriate and wrong. It should have never happened in the first place. But now that I see TikTok and I'm watching a lot of social media, some of this stuff becomes acceptable. My daughter was listening to a song on the radio the other day, by Marquise Houston. And y'all don't mind putting names out there, man. Listen, at the end of the day, I ain't got no money, so don't come and try to sue me, Marquise. But Marquise Houston, he's part of the group Immature. He also was a part of the House Party franchise, and he went on to a solo career. But there was that controversy of him dating a young lady at a very, very young age, and her family being okay with that. And then he eventually married her. And so there are many times when he finds himself explaining that. But why? Why do we think that is okay? And are our young women able to handle that? I talk to young women in the work that I do, with our houseless neighbors. And some of these young women, you all, are 15, 16, pregnant by somebody 35, 40 years old. And some people would say, well, maybe they're looking for a father figure. I wasn't looking for a father figure. I had my daddy. Thelma on Good Times had her daddy. What were we looking for? Old folks used to say, hey, you being fast. Was I being fast? I don't know. I know it felt good to have that attraction. It felt good to have those compliments. It felt good and okay to be seen, to be heard. But I don't think it was us being fast more so than the predator. Why do we not blame the predator, instead of looking at the young lady like she's fast? I don't know. I was really blown away by some of our older people during that time, especially those that were in the church or whatever. Oh, she's just being fast. You need to sit her down. She don't need to be in a choir. She don't need to be doing this. She don't need to be doing that. But what were you doing to the predator? Or were you protecting the predator? Why was nobody going after the predator? What about, you know, the old dude that you see riding around in the car with the rims, music playing loud, and intentionally being in areas where young people are? When are we checking that brother? Or is it just easier to check the young lady and say, hey, change your style of dress, change where you go, change who you're around? What are we doing? Are we or have we got a blind eye to predators? For a while in the city of Charlotte, um, we were seeing a large number of what we consider runaways. And I can remember telling my daughters, be mindful and be careful about going to Concord Mills. And if they hadn't have told me the stories, I probably wouldn't have believed it myself. But it would be men that would actually hang out in Concord Mills, and they would suggest to the girls, hey, come be a part of our modeling. Have you ever modeled before? Is this something that you would consider? Even so much as giving them a website they can sign up on. You need your parents' permission. But they would wait till these young ladies were in certain stores and they're looking at maybe sneakers, or they're looking at some jewelry, or even the perfume store, and say, hey, I see you eyeing that. Would you like that? And you can be a part of what we got going on. And then the next thing you know, these girls are being swept up and swept away, missing for a weekend or two. And then they find them in areas where they've been turned out, literally being turned out. And so I can remember my daughters telling me they were approached by a young man asking them if they wanted to model. And I was like, I need this man's information. I need this website. I need to know what's going on. Started Googling things. Of course, it was not real, but there's predators out here. And the predators, a lot of times, are not by themselves. They with a homeboy that is encouraging the foolishness. That's not okay. That is not okay. And if you know somebody out there that thinks it is okay to be with a young lady underage or not of age, however you want to look at it, because even at 18, how many of these young ladies' minds are developed enough to be with an older man that's been with who knows who, been out here, may even have a family and a wife of their own, and creating confusion and chaos in their lives? Do we check these predators? And I want to touch on this because predators still exist. Predators still exist. We're seeing it in the school systems. How many reports have we seen in the past 3 to 4 years in CMS where a teacher has been a predator on a child? And I pause intentionally. Sending inappropriate text messages, sending inappropriate pictures, asking for inappropriate pictures to be sent to them. Are we checking these predators? And you may say, Deb, we don't know that they are predators. You got that one friend that always want to be around young women, still wanting to go to the young club or to the young spots that people hang out. You 40 and 50 something years old. Why is you in these spots? And my daughter, she would say, listen, it's just certain places y'all don't need to be. Why is you in Imperial with these kids out here, these young kids or young adults out here in Imperial, they smoking hookah and stuff, and you offering to buy them hookah and drinks, and you 40, 50 years old? That is a predator to me. And you may say, well, Miss Dale, why are these young people out here at these spots anyway? They want to have fun too. I can remember in Raleigh, we had a club called The Deck. And we could go to that club, I believe, at age 12 or 13. Whatever age it was, I went as early as I could because I love hanging out. I love hip-hop music. I still love hip-hop music, but I love to dance. And so we would go hang out at The Deck off of Falls of the News. I'll never forget. We'll be there as soon as the doors were open. And then I believe it shut down at 11 o'clock. But for a period of time, predators were there. It's supposed to be a teenage club, and predators will show. And yeah, I'm calling predators because I want to put a label on them. I want y'all to recognize and know them for who they are. They are predators. And I can remember they would wait in the parking lot. If they couldn't get in the club, especially if they looked too old, they would wait in the parking lot, ask you if you want something to eat or whatever. Man, my mama and my daddy picking me up. I don't need no ride. But then you had that one friend where she thought it was cool and cute. So we have to educate our young daughters. It's not cool and cute just because he has the car, he's got the bling or the ice or the diamonds or whatever have you. And these cars are grab and snatch these young ladies. Like they see a nice car and it pull in, and that's everything. But it's not okay. You know, we got to protect our young ladies and our young people. I know I said I would touch on not I would mostly make this about opposite sex, but you do have those that are predatory on those of the same sex. It's not okay. And are we protecting our young people across social media? You know, there's there's this one story, and let me make sure I have it correct. It is out of Detroit, and the young girl was missing out of Detroit. And like I said, I'm gonna make sure I get this story correct. But she was missing, and come to find out that the girl's aunt's boyfriend actually had a whole live relationship with the young lady. And the aunt and the aunt's mother and a few other people turned a blind eye and just literally made it about the young girl being wrong, her being fast, her and what she was wearing, her and what she was doing on TikTok. Meanwhile, nobody's checking this brother, this nasty brother, for creating this relationship in this space with this young girl. So much so that there was no protection for her, that the aunt knew and was even jealous of the relationship that had formed between her boyfriend and her niece. It's some sick people in this world. And we got to start checking people, you all. We got to be vigilant and check people. We got to be able to voice and stand up and step in for these young people. How many more young people do we need missing on the street? How many more young ladies do we need plucked up? How many more times do we need to say these missing alerts? Do y'all know how many missing alerts go across just Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department of young ladies? It's ridiculous. And where are these kids going? Where are they hanging at? Who are they hanging around? You know, and 9 times out of 10, they're found with somebody older that has attracted them, has influenced them. And as a parent, nobody should have greater influence over your child than you, unless it's the Lord Jesus Christ. Nobody should have a greater influence over you. But I'm gonna touch on something when I come back, because I really got to get into this thing, because I think a lot of it that I'm thinking, y'all do not have to agree, but what I'm thinking in my mind is a lot of folks are too busy trying to be their child's friend, be like their child, inviting folks over while they all smoking and drinking. The child's in there, the child's being part of grown folks' conversation, the child's being invited into your world. Baby, listen, y'all can't be in my world as no child. You can't be a part of what I got going on. You can't be here when we're entertaining older individuals. And it's not even just a matter of going to your room. I don't allow it in my house, but there are individuals that do. Real quick, we're going to get a song from the late, great Aaliyah, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Here I am, and there you are. Your eyes are calling me to your heart. All you gotta do is knock, and I'll let you in. And we will feel the passion that flows within. I don't mean to be bold, but I gotta let you know I got a thing for you, and I can't let go. ain't nothing but a thing. This love I have for you, it'll never change. Take my hand and come with me, and let me show you to ecstasy. Boy, be brave, don't be afraid. 'Cause tonight we're gonna go all the way. Don't mean to be bold, gotta let you know that I think for you, and I can't let go. My age ain't nothing but a number, going down ain't nothing but a thing. This love that I have for you, it'll never change. Age ain't nothing but a number, ain't nothing but a number, ain't nothing but a thing. And this love that I have for you, it'll never change. Oh, no. Man, big ups to the late, great Aaliyah. That girl made some amazing and beautiful music. But part of her legacy was marred a little bit because of the fact that it was rumored that she was married to R. Kelly at a very young age. I wonder, if that was the case or if it was true, what would have made that okay? Knowing R. Kelly's age, knowing who he was in the industry, what would have made that okay? Even if there was no marriage and there was just that relationship, and then for her to come out with a song, age ain't nothing but a number. Um, it's more than that. With age, there has to be a level of maturity. There has to be a level of understanding, um, or at a certain age, there is that level of ignorance to what individuals can do to persuade your child to give themselves up to somebody that doesn't have their best interest at heart. And that is what I want us to be open to understand so that we can protect our young ladies and protect our young men, protect our children, to make sure that they don't fall prey to older gentlemen or to predators, even if it is, like I said, if it is the same sex versus the opposite sex. On yesterday, I had my clients watch a documentary about Centoya Brown Long. At the time, she was Centoya Brown. That was a heartbreaking story. And if you don't know about her story, she was very young and she was convicted of robbing and murdering somebody that was considered her John. But listening to the back end of her story, this young lady started running wild at 12 years old. And her beginning was like somebody in their 30s. Her opening to womanhood or her innocence being stolen was somebody in their 30s. Who preys on a 12-year-old? And people asked, interviewers asked, how, what was that relationship like? She said, oh, well, mostly about sex, but we drank and we smoked. We smoked a lot of weed. And then eventually they would introduce me to other friends or other men. And then I basically became his property. Just that easy. At age 12, this baby was exposed, taken advantage of, mistreated, abused, used. Man, at 12, her innocence was stolen. Who was there to protect her? And see, with Centoya, she was raised in a home with people that loved her, that cared about her, because her mother gave her up. And her mother's story was tragic. Her mother said nobody protected her. Her mother said that she had a suicidal spirit, just like Centoya. But her mother's mother had that same spirit. And I understand that sometimes this stuff can trickle down, as people say. These are the chains that need to be broken. These are the things that the cycles that need to end. Um, but will they end if we don't say anything? If we don't speak up for these young ladies and young men? If we don't step in? If we don't start calling these predators what they are? Because that gentleman in that room, that John that she eventually killed, he's, Johnny Allen. Johnny Allen. They try to make him like he was just this wonderful, loving man in the community. He was such a stand-up guy and all of this. But if he was, why was he preying on such a young lady? Now, her sentence was overturned. She is no longer behind bars. That is a story that you all need to check out. Check out the documentary. But the most disturbing part of that was the number, age 12. Yes, age is more than just a number. More than just a number. To a young child whose innocence gets taken at such an early age, it is way more than just a number. And we need to know and understand that we need to protect our kids as much as possible. I remember the story about Antoine Fisher. If you all have never seen the movie or never read the book, I read the book first before I watched the movie. And his innocence was stolen. And he felt like nobody protected him. Nobody said anything. We see it in the Madea movies and in the Madea plays. It still happens in this day and age. You got to watch these uncles. You got to even watch these weird aunties. Always wanting to keep your kid. Why you want to keep my kid? My kid can't stay with you. I ain't letting nobody keep my kids. I didn't. I always felt, and maybe it was because I was violated. But I just didn't want nobody keeping my kids but me. I never felt comfortable. And if they did stay the night somewhere, I was on edge. I could not wait till my children got home because I didn't want anybody to strip or take their innocence. And it's crazy, you all, because even now I ask them, if y'all have ever been violated, let me know. Don't let me die knowing that I couldn't avenge what happened or what took place. Oh, because I'm sorry. Yes, Lord, I know you said vengeance is mine, but yeah, I'm going to avenge. So, I'm just letting you know that ain't premeditated, but it's going to happen. I'm going to avenge because these are my children. But where are the voices that are speaking up, getting more involved, seeing how that we can help children, to protect them, to have more discussions, especially in our Black and brown communities, being open to these discussions, because our children see so much. They're exposed to so much. I was listening to a story about Saucy Santana, and his mother wrote a book. I haven't read it yet. I said I'm gonna pick it up. And no, I'm not doing a plug for her or for him. But 12, once again, 12. I hate to say magic number, but 12 was that number. And I'm like, what is it about age 12? What is it that people think that our kids are old enough or to a point where they'll know and understand what's happening and occurring in their bodies and even in their minds? Their minds aren't developed enough to understand and comprehend someone taking advantage of them and stripping them of their most sacred thing. 12. My God. And Saucy said his relationship, because he didn't understand it, this gentleman referred to it as a relationship with the person that had taken his innocence. That wasn't a relationship, that was a nightmare. That person took him and stripped him of innocence. So much so that he thought it was a relationship. I applaud him for speaking out. I applaud him for sharing his story. But there's so many others that are scared. They hold it in. They grow up with this. They They don't know how to release the thing that traumatized them, to release the thing that had completely changed their world. For some, it changes their entire trajectory to the point that they don't know how to function in society. When I sit with some of my neighbors, and if you all aren't familiar with the work that I do with Block Love Charlotte, I work in the houseless and homeless community. And some of those that I speak with, when they tell me these tragic stories, and I'm hearing individuals share with me how someone took advantage of them at a very young age and they never recovered. They never could move past that. So they felt like there was nothing more to do, especially when I talked to some of the ladies. And I'm like, aren't you tired of selling your body or having men take advantage of your body? And somebody to tell me, Deb, this is all I know. I knew this at the age of 12 when I had my first child. First child at age 12. My ex-mother-in-law, she runs a 24-hour, 365-day daycare. And in the small town that she's in, social services and CPS knows if they get those calls late in the night that they can bring the kids to her for safety. And I can remember we stayed with her for a little while, and a young lady and her not young lady, a young girl and her little brother came to stay. And I fell in love with them. They're the cutest kids in the world. And in my eyes, they were just so innocent. They were so sweet. And the young girl, I'm sorry, sat down on the couch with me one day. We were watching TV, and she just blurted out that I may be pregnant. You may be pregnant. 11, 12 years old. Because I found out she was at 12 when she was sharing this story with me. But at 11, her grandfather and her brother, older brother, took her innocence. They stole what she should have saved for her husband. And not only that, this young lady ended up pregnant. I can remember she birthed the most big baby. Oh, Jesus, he was a big baby. Absolutely the most beautiful baby. And I broke down. My heart ache. It still to this day aches for her. Because she was innocent. She didn't ask for that. And in the home she was in, I couldn't understand how something like that could happen. But what was happening was the older brother would help the grandmother, because they stayed with their grandmother and grandfather. The older brother would help the grandmother with her medication, and he was actually giving the grandmother, over medicating the grandmother, so much so that she would be blacked out. These are heartbreaking and these are horror stories. Horror stories. Who would take the advantage of a child? And then we look at the child and say, well, how were you dressed? Were you walking around in short shorts and tank tops? You're develop up top, put on a bra, cover up. Now, one thing my mama didn't play about growing up, baby, you did not wear shorts and a tank top in the winter and fall. You put that stuff up, you pack that stuff away, and you might be able to pull it out once the temperature hits 90 to 100 degrees. Might. But baby, you won't walking around her house in those shorts. You just won't gonna do it. That was old school. But now they walk around in these little tight little things, these little shorts that are they look like drawers. And I'm not saying don't have your child be like that, because there are some reasons. Some of our youth are athletes, they're dancers, they're cheerleaders, and we can't hold them responsible for what a predator does. Everybody talks about this little girl, Miss Shirley. Miss Shirley. Baby, I love Miss Shirley. Ain't nothing little Miss Shirley can do wrong in my eyes, because she is doing what she sees as an innocent little girl dancing at these trail rides. She's doing what she loves. And you can see the happiness all over her face, honey, and the dedication. Like, she, with every move and everything, you can see she's putting a lot of thought into what she does, because that is her gift. Anybody seeing beyond that makes me nervous. Now, should we watch out and protect her? Yes. If we see her at an event and somebody looking at her inappropriately, yes, then we have a problem with it. But what makes her different than these kids at these dance recitals? If y'all have any kids that have been part of the dance community, I'm talking about these dance competition and some of the outfits and uniform. My girls grew up in dance, and I love competition season. Absolutely loved it. I had another that one of my daughters, she did what the stomp and shake cheer. The very first time I saw her cheer, I almost fell out the bleachers. I literally almost fell out the bleachers because I was like, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I had never seen the practices or anything like that. Even though I went to Winston-Salem State University, the illustrious Winston-Salem State University, I wasn't ready. I was like, wait a minute, what is happening here? But I didn't blame her for her outfit. I didn't blame my daughters for what they were wearing. I just remained vigilant, made sure won't no dirty birds watching my child. When they were done with whatever it was, they put their sweats on or their pants or their leggings, what have you. And we weren't walking out in the streets like that. We weren't inviting those issues in. But nowadays it is like anything goes. But we're so busy to check the kid. Why are we not checking these dirty birds out here? Dirty birds. We used to call R. Kelly Chester Molester. I hope I don't get kicked off the airways. But R was a predator. I told everybody he called himself the Pied Piper. Right. Because he was Pied Piping our baby straight to hell. He was a predator. Still is. I don't care if he's behind bars. I got a problem with it. And then for all y'all R. Kelly fans, okay, you can go ahead. The man is a genius when it comes to music, but he's still a predator, and we got to stop protecting predators. I love, oh my God, BBD. BBD. Biv DeVoe. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? There's a song where they said, they talk about the girl being underage, backstage. I like to do the wild thing. And baby, that's my song right there. Like I was getting it in. I still would probably dance off of that song. But them words, was that okay back then? Is it okay now? No. We should not be okay with that. Our kids should not be back. I should have never been backstage. I should have never been at half of the places I was at the age of 12. Like I said, that might be the magic number. Age 12. I experienced so much at age 12. And y'all know what's crazy? What is really, really crazy? And I just had this thought. I might be an epiphany. Somebody look up the definition. But listen, I had this thought, you all, because I myself at age 12 considered myself to still be a virgin. But I can remember being taken advantage of and having my innocence stolen from age 5 to 7. But age 12, I wasn't thinking about sex. I'm going to tell y'all what I was thinking about. I was thinking about popping and locking with my brother. My brother and them had a breakdance crew called Homeboys Only, HBO. And my brother was very protective of me. He didn't let the guys, try to holler at me. They would do break dance and break off at the skate rink. We actually had a skating rink called Skate Rink and Sports World, and they would have the break dancing battles and everything. And even his friends would protect me. But that's how it used to be. What happened to that? Who's protecting our young folks out here? Or are we just that now we're allowing social media to dictate what our kids see and do? Are we allowing social media to be the driving force for our kids, to parent our kids, to teach them even about the birds and bees, or to even teach them about, style and everything? I seen one lady, she's a hairstylist, and she was doing this little girl's hair, you all. This little girl was like 5 or 6, and she was installing a wig. And this just wasn't your average wig, because it wasn't like the child had alopecia, it wasn't like the child had cancer or anything. She was doing an adult style on a little girl and was installing this wig on this little girl. And she pinned it up. But then it made me think of pageants. It made me think of John Benet Ramsey. It made me think of Honey Boo Boo. I know y'all liked it. This girl say Honey Boo Boo. Yes, I did. Honey Boo Boo. Because I remember people saying Honey Boo Boo too young to be dressed like that. These pageants are taking it too far. Once again, we're blaming the activity of the child, but what about the predator that's sitting out there? Are we calling them out? Are we checking some of these dads that are a little bit too comfortable when our kids are coming in and out of the dressing rooms? What about those that are hanging out in the back of the parking lot waiting for your child to come out and catch air just because it may be hot from their performances? What about those that ain't even got a child there but snapping all those pictures? Those are the things that we need to call out and we need to be focused on. I was raised to always be aware of my surroundings, but are we teaching our children that? Or are we letting social media guide them and put them in places and spaces that they don't need to be in, but we think it's okay? No, it's not okay for my child under the age of really 21, but definitely not under the age of 18 to be at a Chris Brown concert by themselves. That's just my opinion. Love me, Chris Breezy. But yeah, I don't need my child to be exposed to too much too soon. And making sure and I said by themselves. I didn't say with parent guidance or an adult supervision. I said by themselves. Because now Uber, Lyft, and all these other things make it simple for us to put our kids in a ride share vehicle and send them off on their way. But are we protecting them enough? Because if they're so focused on this, are they focused on who's around them, who's walking in that bathroom behind them? Even at the mall, they too busy TikToking and a guy on the aisle. In fact, a video came across my social media where a lady and her daughter were at the beauty supply store, and the man stops behind the lady as she bends down to get something. We don't know if the man is pleasuring himself off of the daughter or seeing the mother, but that's what he's doing in this beauty supply store. And it just so happened that the owner of the beauty supply store catches it. She realizes what's going on and calls the lady and her child up to the front of the counter. Even when we had the incident, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before last, when the gentleman was pleasuring himself at Southside Homes in his car while kids outside playing. That's a place we have served in numerous times as Block Love Charlotte. We got to protect our children, but we got to hold these predators accountable. I ain't saying go out here and castrate them, but what I am saying is be on the lookout. If your homeboy is always talking to a young girl, that ain't your homeboy. That ain't who you need to be around, and you need to check that. You need to check him or check her. Check these people that are grooming these young kids to do more than they are understanding or able to do. Stop allowing people to prey on the innocence of our young people. You all, I love Monie Love. I've been a Monie Love fan. I used to try to talk like her from England. I love her. I love her accent. That was a horrible England accent, but I've always thought she was absolutely amazing. I don't think she got the credit that she deserved, but here it is, Monie Love, and it's a shame. It's a shame that these predators take advantage. But she's schooling. If go look at the video, she's schooling this little young girl, and I'm loving every part of this video. That's what we got to do. We've got to school our young folks. Your honey took a dive and now he's playing with your mind. Oh no, this cannot be accepted. The feelings that belong to you must be protected. Hold up, time out, I shout. Get it together, sister, tell her to be not so this the mister. It's a shame. It's a shame. Get back on your feet, please. I'm begging you to check out on your own knees. Don't let nobody see you in a state of grieving over a brother. There's another possibility, which is for you to work out where you went wrong. I guarantee to you that it will not take long.
long for you to make your mind up if the two of you belong. You know where honey's head at and where he's coming from. Get it out your system, don't be another victim. This took the nerve, oh boy, you really picked him. Well, you know, it's time for you to show you're not sleeping. A progress report on the two of you, you keep it. Looking through the peephole to see if honey's sneaking. You estimated right, that night the other weekend. Collectively, the facts should conclude the decision. You caught the brother in a terrible disposition. It's a shame. It's a shame.
So you all, the last part that I'm going to touch on, and I really want us to think about this, especially here in the city of Charlotte. One, I implore everyone to pray for our city. There's a lot that goes on, a lot that I think we turn a blind eye to. But we need to open our eyes. We need to wake up. We need to see the problems that are going out. And big shout out to those that are really concerned about what's going on in our city, concerned about cleaning up our city, concerned about being a part of the cleanup. I don't know if many of you all have been down Sugar Creek or taken a look at what's going on Sugar Creek. And it's not just Sugar Creek. Let's be clear. It's not just Sugar Creek, but there are areas in our city where when our kids have been taken advantage of, when a young person is always looking for love in all the wrong places, when they lose their innocence at 12, they may find themselves in predicaments and places and situations they can't get out of. They may actually find themselves in corridors and locations throughout the city, including on Sugar Creek. And I say that because I pass by there almost every single day. I stop over to check in with individuals. I see and try to see who's alive, who's doing well, who may need something. But I also stop and pray, because there's been many a times where I've had a mother, an aunt, or a family member reach out and say, listen, I know you go over to Sugar Creek. Can you see if my child is there? Can you see if sister so-and-so's niece is there? Can you see if, we've been looking for this missing child. I know you serve on Sugar Creek. Is it possible they're there? Do you know how heartbreaking that is? And how did they end up there? Who got them there? How did they arrive at that place or that point? And what happened to them when they got there? I know I said I was doing something a little different this evening, and I hope I'm not blowing you all with this conversation, but we got to have more open conversations about things like this. And once, like I started at the beginning, stop sweeping this type of stuff under the rug. There's going to be a rally on Tuesday, July 22nd at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a safe Sugar Creek Road corridor. And they are asking that the public come and be a part of this with One Time Inc. in the United Neighborhoods of Charlotte. They're going to address the violence, drug dealing, drug trafficking, prostitution, and a lot that's been going on for years. One of my partners came and visited me on yesterday, Mr. Larry Mims. And I told him, I said, bruh, please, just ride down Sugar Creek. I don't know if he's been down there in a while. I don't know what he sees. He and I always spend a lot of time together off of Betty's Ford Road. And he served with me for these past few years all over the city of Charlotte. And one of our places that we would always go together would be Sugar Creek. But he does some different work with another community group. But when you ride down Sugar Creek and you see what you see, the younger folks are out, you all, and they are getting high. They are involved in promiscuous behaviors, unsafe behaviors. But how did they get there? Who may or may not have touched them at age 12? And this even includes our trans community, because there's a large, that area is largely populated with some of our trans individuals that are houseless. we don't know what somebody's trauma is. We don't know what somebody may have faced at a young age, but what are we doing to protect them? What measures are we taking? Are we seeing the signs? Are we recognizing the signs? I do know they say spirit recognizes spirit. And for someone that's been through what I've been through, I can usually 9 times out of 10 tell when somebody has been inappropriately touched, has had their innocence stolen, have been taken advantage of. And it is heartbreaking because that's not a spirit that I want to recognize in somebody. But when I feel it, and my heart immediately breaks for them. And when we have these conversations and we find ourselves at these crossroads, especially at locations off of Sugar Creek, and you're like, you're young, where's your family at? Can you go back to your family? Well, they're going to be disappointed in me. Why are we disappointed in the predator that created and caused all this chaos? Or are we still allowing the uncle to show up, or the aunt to show up, or the friend to show up at events and family affairs and pretending like nothing ever happened? It's not fair. It's not fair to have someone come along and just snatch the very thing that is like gold to you. It is so, so valuable, and that is your innocence. And I pray, like I said, that we are more vigilant, that we're doing our best to spread the word and make our young folks aware of their surroundings, educate them, you know, on best practices for social media, best practices when they're out. Like I tell my daughters, always look around. Always look around. Check your surroundings. When they were young. Y'all, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Like I said, this was a different topic, but it is what God laid on my heart. Y'all know this show is unscripted, completely unscripted, because I never know what God is going to lay on my heart to say or to do. Check this thing out live. It is streaming now on the connected.net. It is on the Connected Radio on Facebook. It is across all streaming networks. This is Break Me Off Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Denise. We've got so much in store. Don't worry, I won't have too many topics that'll get you down or make you um, emotional, because I love to laugh. That's why I watch Good Times all the time. I love laughter. I love to be around people. I love to have people smile, but I also want to educate and use this platform in the best way possible. And so I do allow God to use me. If you don't like me talking about God, I really don't care, because I'm gonna always bring him up. But I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for the Connected Radio. I'm grateful for Kevin Glover and his team and all that they do. You all, if you're not following them, if you're not plugged in, if you're not a part of what they got going on in the community, and they got a lot going on, which is why I love them and I appreciate them. This is a great way to get involved. So please follow the connected.net. See what they got going on. See if you can be a part of it. And if you want to be a part and have your own platform, this is a great way to get started. I thank them for giving me this opportunity to share my mind. Now, as we get ready to break out of here, y'all, like I said, I love me some hip hop. I love listen, I used to stalk the Lost Boys. I have issues. We'll talk about that on another show. But right now we got the Lost Boys coming with you with Renee. Y'all been great. Thank you for the time. Once again, check us out on theconnected.net. Here we are with Renee from the Lost Boys.
About the sunny named Renee that I met one day on my way back from John Jay. I peeped with Shorty as she's walking to the train. I tap her on the shoulder. Excuse me, miss, but can I get your name? She said, my name is Renee. I said, I got a whole lot to say. So may I walk you to your subway? She said, if you want. So yo, we started talking. I bought 2 francs and 2 drinks and we began walking. I had to see where that head was at, cause the year was mad fast. So we must chat about this and that. She told me what she was in school for. She wants to be a lawyer. In other words, Shorty studies law. I'm telling Shorty I'm a writer, and as she's looking for the token, she drops her package up. Confess her mouth with the name ring. I say, yo, I'm sweat to take name Shorty, right? I do the same thing, but yet I used to. She said I never, because I heard that's what silly. I said, nah, they get slower. Right now I really don't know you, but maybe later on I can show you. A ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day I wonder why my Shorty die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shoulder. My ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day, I wonder why my shorty had to die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shorty. So now we sitting on the train. Besides a fingernail, I shorty got the hairdo with pain. Now understand she got flavor. A tough leather jacket with some jeans and the chain that the moms gave her. Got on the train about 6:34. She wasn't sure she had grub for the dog, so we hit the store. Went to the crib and turned the lights on. A Mad magazine stand, reminiscence, a light on. I left the couch stereo system with crazy CDs. Understand, cause she got cheese. She said, cheese, do what you want. She said, I'm gonna feed the dog. I said, alright, well, I'm a... She came back with stretch pants and a ponytail, a t-shirt. Hey, yo, fam, I got a tenderoni girl. We sitting on the couch chatting. Talked about it, was staring at me. She started feeling on my chest. I started feeling on the breast. And there's no need for me to stress the rest. Hey, yo, I got myself a winner. Before we ate, after we ate dinner, she had a tattoo she only wanted to go to see. But first, dim the lights and turn up the Joe to see. I'm like, whenever shorty rock, we can swing it like that. Cause on the real, this is where it's at. A ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day, I wonder why my shorty had to die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shoulder. A ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day, I wonder why my shorty had to die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shorty. I woke up the next day on the waterbed, letters on the pillow, and this is what the letter said. It said, Cheeks, I'll be home around 2. You was deep in your sleep, so I didn't want to bother you. I left my number for shorty to call me later, got dressed. Then I bounced towards the elevator. I got the beep around 3. I'm asking shorty, what's up with you? She's asking what's up with me. And now we've been together for weeks. Scandal like dinner with my shorty, crack a 40 with my naughty freaks. Hey man, I never been in love, but every time I'm bursting in and out of state, it's shorty that I'm thinking of. I'm hanging out with my crew. I get the beat from Renee, because Renee uses slow too. But yet I'm chatting with them on too. She says Renee's been shot, so Cheeks meet me up at St. Luke's. I jump on the bandwagon. I gotta make it there quick. I know this is getting mad dick. Not even thinking of the bone, now I'm doing about the physical. Boom in the whole 9. I gotta see what's going on. And by the time I reach the hospital, they tell me Mr. Cheeks Renee's gone. I'm pouring it out for my shorty who ain't here. I'm from the ghetto, so listen, this is how I shed my tears. A ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day, I wonder why my shorty had to die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shoulder. A ghetto love is the law that we live by. Day by day, I wonder why my shorty had to die. I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up on my shoulder.
Yo, I remember you. What's up?
Come on in, engineer.